Good. According to the latest figures, Minister, first of all, can I say about the budget, it's like the cure would say, it's good in spots, and there's a lot of bad spots as well. But according to the latest figures, of course, over 30 years, our Irish mortgage holders are paying their mortgages 300,000, will pay 80,000 more than our European counterparts. Why is that? I mean, this budget has been crippling for ordinary people. Nadine Aista, the old people, got nothing. They didn't even get the fiver on the pension. And our ordinary working man, Agus Mana, Gobber, Goni, the words of the Tonic, they get up, go lower, it's the modern, they get up in the morning early. But they've been ignored and ignored. The carbon tax then is going to penalise all those people, especially in rural Ireland. And they're going to pay for money, pay for the so-called just transition to support Lewis and Dart and other projects here in Dublin and a few limited projects throughout the country. The N24 project in Tipperary wasn't even mentioned and is badly, badly needed to have connectivity from the west coast of Ireland right along to Limerick, Clare, Limerick and indeed Tipperary, Waterford onto Rosslare. And then that's needed now with Brexit coming especially. It's badly, badly needed. And then towns like Tipperary town desperately need a ring road and a relief road there. We now have consultants appointed to look at the project again. It was designed and approved before. I went to, didn't go to CPO, but I went to notice to treat, and the routes were selected. And why have we consultants appointed again? It's consultants for everything. If you want to sneeze now, you have to appoint consultants. And many of the projects that are announced in the budget will be eaten up by firms and consultants and engagements with issues like that, and we don't get the quid pro quo and the bucks in the pocket. Many of the issues to support the arts and other industries that have been announced, and welcome money, yes, definitely, but will it percolate down into the pockets, into the homes of the entertainers, the musicians, the dancers, the light engineers, the sound engineers, and indeed all those groupie that are out there? Our dance schools, I have a letter here from a dance school no, I haven't. It's from Siobhan. It's from the organiser, the vice president of the Dance School Association, to know why, in God's name, at Rinky Scolla, don't have force that closed for the second time, that closed again. Thankfully, we've up to 30 children in classrooms going back to schools. I spoke to the principal today of Cormac College, and he's 500 students, doing an excellent job down at Kevin Langton with his students and his board of management, and not a word of infection, thanks be to God. And then what has he this morning? A department inspector coming in and tell them they want to come in. He's let nobody in, only the pupils. We don't need inspections for those kind of general inspections at the moment. We trust the board of management and the principals and the teaching staff. So can I say to you, the dance schools are closed. They shouldn't be closed. They've been victimised and blackguarded because in many cases they might have only 12 or 15 in a much bigger setting than a classroom, and they have community halls like one in my own village and many, many more. So look, there's a lot of inequities and unfairness, and will this money just come from the Arts Committee meeting? And I'm not satisfied that the Arts money, they got 130 million, and great, and the whole artistic community must be supported. But who's going to support the man in the van with his own one-man show or two-man show or a woman show, going out to do cabaret, going out to do the gigs, going out to do voluntary, going to the nursing homes and indeed into the daycare centres and everything else? They are a vital part of our economy, as well as the taxi drivers, and the over 66 have got nothing. We didn't get a fiver. They got nothing in the pandemic either. Nothing, because of the so-called the pension that they had. All they wanted was to be brought up to the 350 level. And that 350 PUP payment must be restored for those group of self-employed people, entertainers, van drivers, milkmen, ready-mix trucks, you name it, delivery trucks, and all those taxi men, and down our area, the hackney drivers don't have taxis. So we need to support those people because they're not being supported. They didn't even get the crumbs from the table. As I said, all they wanted with the PUP payments was to get the balance between their pension of 200 odd up to 350. The 350 must be restored and it must be given back to these people because they have dignity. They have pride in their work. They're not allowed to work. The government pulled their rug from underneath them. But the dance schools have been closed down twice. And you explain to me, Minister, somebody explain to me, from NEF or anybody else, why a dance school cannot operate, as I said, with the same number of students that come in prefab, a small, pokey prefab in the national schools. There are many of them there. which we should have stopped procuring and not building and renting them years ago. Again, I said yesterday, why can we not, or why will we not go to the ECB? As I quoted a figure there at the bottom, over 3 years of differential for a mortgage, there's 80,000 that the Irish people will pay more than their counterparts. 80,000. That is blackguarding. We can get money at low interest rates from the ECB. Why don't we borrow it? Why don't we deal with the banks? We've allowed the moratorium to be lifted for the banks. So now I spoke to a couple of families last Saturday in my area where they have received a letter from the sheriff for repossession of their home because of a bank from the bank. Straight away, there's 60 or 70 landed in the Tipperary, South Tipperary District Court for places like that. It's merciless, it's relentless, and it's disgusting. As I said, the ECB rate is out there for all of us. As I said last night, I think that Germany borrowed, you know, after the World War, Second World War, and they're still paying it back. We need long-term loans like that. We need the likes of the former late TK Whittaker back inside in finance to be a bit of imagination and a bit of experimentation, not experimentation recklessly. It's not all accountants and mind the house and mind the money. We must be here and support our people. We must give our people hope, and we must give them some bit of support and solace that that they can go back to being self-employed. They can go back to their jobs. They can go back to their homes, look after their wives and families, and not be depending on the state. But we need a bite over, and we need to avail of this low-cost finance in order to support our communities. With the carbon tax, then, it's penalising rural people to pay for facilities in Dublin under just transition to hell with the rest of the country. I'm all for carbon tax, but I don't agree with the legislation passed last night. Though we can't have a debate on carbon tax. It's now fixed in to become €100 a tonne by 2030. Fine to have a just transition and deal with it here. The impacts on the housewife, the impacts on the people in the cottages, the impacts on the farmer, the impacts on the bus drivers, the self-employed people, the taxi drivers, everybody just goes to work. The students who have to travel, there's no public transport. So it's a blackguarding of people. The just transition is not very just for the people who have to pay the piper, and then we see all the announcements for public transport more and more rolled out here in the capital city, Ballyarclee. Go to Mahagut.